Welcome to Japan News AI this week. We've got a lot to cover. Japan unveils evacuation plan for islands near Taiwan. Japan establishes new self-defense forces command. Asian stocks decline following U.S. auto tariff. Survivors challenge Japan's hostage justice system. Japan protests China's misquotation of Prime Minister Ishiba.
Interesting.
And the Tokyo District Court orders dissolution of the Unification Church.
All right.
Greetings from Tokyo. I'm Charles.
I'm sorry.
And today we're diving into a few developments here in Japan. And I think when we look at them all together, they really paint a picture of a nation that's kind of grappling with all this rising uncertainty in the region, facing some significant challenges domestically, and trying to keep its economic footing on the world stage. So let's start with these security concerns that seem to be growing in the region.
Okay.
Specifically, Japan's announcement of this large-scale evacuation plan.
Yeah, I think what's really striking about this plan is the sheer number of people that we're talking about here.
Over 100,000 residents.
Wow.
From 5 islands in the Sakishima chain.
Yeah.
And these islands are really close to Taiwan. It's like a stone's throw away. And the fact that they're aiming to get all these folks relocated within 6 days, and they're talking about using ships and planes, it really does underscore how quickly they believe a crisis could escalate.
This isn't just some plan that's on paper. They're actually scheduling drills.
Absolutely.
For next April to start evacuating people, and then at the same time, they're deploying more missile units on Yonaguni Island.
Right.
All of this is happening in the context of these rising tensions between Beijing and Taipei.
Exactly.
Seems like a pretty clear response to that situation.
It does.
So they're moving people out of harm's way, potentially, but also boosting their defense capabilities as well, right?
Yeah, it's like a two-pronged approach, and it's happening pretty much simultaneously with this evacuation planning.
Okay.
They've set up this new Self-Defense Forces Joint Operations Command right here in Tokyo.
Bringing together around 240 personnel.
Wow.
From the ground forces, maritime forces, and the air forces, all under one command. It seems like the aim here, it's not just about better integration between Japan's own defense branches,
right,
but also about making sure that they can coordinate seamlessly with the U.S. military if things get dicey in the region.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty big shift in their defense posture.
It really does.
So they're preparing for the worst-case scenario with these civilian evacuations, but at the same time, they're making sure that their military can respond if they need to. And all of this is happening. This isn't happening in a vacuum, is it?
No, it's not. It's all connected.
There's this broader global context that we have to factor in. We're seeing some economic consequences already from across the Pacific.
We are. The U.S. recently implemented a 25% tariff on auto imports.
Right.
And the impact on Asian stock markets was pretty immediate, pretty sharp, particularly here in Japan.
Yeah.
The Nikkei index, for example, dropped more than 2%. But I think what's even more telling is that the share prices of major Japanese automakers like Toyota, Nissan, Honda.
The big ones?
Big names, yeah, those fell by over 3%.
Wow.
It really highlights just how tightly interwoven the global economy is.
Right.
You know, one country's policy decisions can have these ripple effects across the world.
It's not just about the day-to-day fluctuations of the stock market.
Yeah.
There's this underlying concern that we might be on the verge of a full-blown trade war.
Exactly.
And that could have massive long-term effects on the auto industry.
Absolutely.
And so many other sectors.
It's a domino effect.
And these military tensions, they're not just a security threat, they're directly impacting Japan's economic stability.
Right.
It just makes coordinating a response even more important.
Yeah, trade disputes and geopolitical instability, they kind of feed off each other, create all this uncertainty, and it's that uncertainty that can really stifle economic growth and investment.
Right, so it's like another layer of complexity to this whole regional dynamic that we're talking about.
It is.
Now, Japan's dealing with all these external economic pressures.
Yeah.
But there's also some pretty heated debates happening within their own borders.
Right.
Like this whole hostage justice system.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so hostage justice is a term that critics use to describe Japan's legal system.
Yeah.
It allows for these really, really long periods of pretrial detention, and it can be very, very difficult to get bail.
Wow.
Critics argue that this puts huge pressure on suspects to confess, even if they haven't done anything wrong.
Just to get out.
Just to get out.
Yeah.
So 4 individuals have filed this lawsuit in the Tokyo District Court.
Okay.
And they're basically saying that these prolonged detentions and the difficulty in obtaining bail violate Japan's constitution.
Interesting.
They're saying it goes against the rights to due process and fair trial that are enshrined in their constitution.
It's like a fundamental question of individual rights versus the state's power to conduct these investigations.
Exactly. It's a very delicate balance.
A very crucial debate about justice.
Absolutely.
And speaking of rulings, there was that pretty significant one from the Tokyo District Court regarding the Unification Church.
There was, yeah. What happened there?
Well, the court ordered the dissolution of the Unification Church.
Wow.
It was a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
And this decision was based on the fact that the church had caused extensive financial damages through its methods of soliciting donations from its followers.
Right.
The court actually cited a specific amount, 19.4 billion yen in damages.
19.4 billion, that's huge.
It's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
And those damages, they actually go all the way back to 2009.
So this has been going on for a while.
It has.
It's like a culmination of years of concerns about their fundraising practices.
It is.
What happens now?
Well, the most immediate consequences are that the Unification Church loses its tax-exempt status,
Oh, wow.
and they're legally required to liquidate their assets.
In order to compensate the people who've been financially harmed.
It's like a major blow.
It is. It marks a significant moment in this whole saga.
Yeah, so these domestic issues, they really show that Japan's got a lot going on internally.
It does.
You know, they're not just focused on these external threats.
It's a multifaceted situation.
There's all these internal discussions and legal battles happening at the same time.
Yeah.
And then finally, we need to talk about this kind of unusual diplomatic incident
Yeah.
with China and the statement about Prime Minister Ishiba.
Okay, so what's interesting here is that you have these two completely different accounts
Yeah.
of what happened. Japan's foreign ministry is saying that China put out this statement claiming that Prime Minister Ishiba had expressed respect for China's positions on historical issues and Taiwan
During a meeting.
during a meeting.
Okay.
But Japan saying absolutely not, that's completely false. That didn't happen, it's a misrepresentation.
That's a pretty serious accusation in diplomatic circles. What makes something like this so significant? Like, why is it such a big deal when you have these discrepancies?
Well, in diplomacy, everything hinges on trust and accuracy.
Right.
If you misrepresent what a leader has said, especially on such sensitive issues,
Right.
it can cause serious damage to the relationship between countries.
Okay.
You get misunderstandings, you potentially escalate tensions.
Yeah.
And in this case, it's touching upon some really core diplomatic concerns.
So they need to tread carefully.
Very carefully.
So we've got these security preparations.
Yeah.
We've got the economic headwinds. We've got domestic challenges. We've got diplomatic friction.
It's a lot.
So given everything that we've talked about, the external pressures, the internal pressures, what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge for Japan in the coming year?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's like this intricate web of issues. But I think the biggest challenge is going to be maintaining a strategy, a cohesive strategy that can adapt to all of these things, you know, address the security concerns in the region,
Right.
but also deal with those really pressing domestic issues,
Right.
all while navigating this global economic landscape.
Which is very unpredictable at the moment.
Yeah, it's like this multifaceted balancing act.
That's it for this week. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. We want to hear your opinion on today's topics. Take care, and we'll see you in the next take.